Today, we explore how this date completely reshaped our world across five powerful dimensions: culture, education, finance, politics, and technology. This day proves that history never rests. Let's dive into the fascinating interconnected events of this date that continue to influence how we live, think, and innovate today. So, without much further ado, let's go.
Have you ever noticed how, history seems to have a favorite day of the year?
Oh, definitely. It's like certain dates are just magnets for major events.
Right. Well, imagine a single coordinate in time that somehow connects a 4th century religious festival to the
Yeah.
bloody birth of two nuclear superpowers.
And then somehow loops in a chaotic weekend of mud and music in upstate New York.
Yeah, exactly. All the way to, the trading floor of Wall Street today. Today's deep dive is going to trace the extraordinary, almost eerie historical gravity of one specific calendar date, which is August 15th.
It really is a bizarrely dense day in history.
It is.
Uh,
Okay, let's unpack this. What kind of sources are we looking at today?
So we have a wildly diverse stack of sources today. We're pulling from historical records of national liberations in India and Korea, Catholic dogma, post-colonial educational reforms.
A really broad mix.
Yeah, and also the chaotic origins of Woodstock, the Nixon shock of 1971, and even a present-day city investment bulletin. Our mission is to connect these seemingly unrelated dots.
To uncover the weight of this single day, right?
Exactly. We are going to trace how this one date serves as a nexus for spiritual milestones, massive geopolitical shifts, and cultural explosions, not to mention the economic shockwaves that basically built the modern world you live in right now.
That's a huge promise. But before August 15th became a day of, geopolitical fireworks and economic meltdowns, it was anchored in a really ancient spiritual tradition, right?
Right, we have to start with the cultural bedrock. Long before modern nation states, August 15th was all about the Feast of the Assumption of Mary.
I know that's a major Catholic holiday, but what exactly is the Assumption part? I mean, is it just about her going to heaven?
It's actually more mechanical than that, theologically speaking.
Mechanical. How so?
Well, the dogma states that Mary was assumed, body and soul, into heavenly glory. It's been celebrated since the 4th century CE, actually.
Oh, wow, that far back.
Yeah, but it was only declared official Roman Catholic dogma recently in 1950 by Pope Pius XII. The key concept here is the complete bypassing of physical decay.
Okay, wait, so her physical body didn't remain on Earth to deteriorate?
Exactly. It's the ultimate defiance of human mortality. And because it's such a visceral concept, it remains a massive public holiday across the globe today.
Like where?
Places like Austria, Chile, Italy, you see these colorful processions, pageants, and fireworks. It inspired incredible displays of art, too, like Peter Paul Rubens' famous 1626 painting of the event.
So it's really about ultimate preservation. I guess if you're trying to immortalize someone, bypassing the whole decay phase is like the ultimate way to do it.
That's a great way to put it.
It's almost like trying to freeze a perfect state of being, like humanity's desire to capture a fleeting moment in a marble sculpture or something.
Which is exactly why it became such a massive driver of visual culture. Conceptually, this day of spiritual reverence laid a foundation of celebration. It established a theme of ascension.
Ascension, like moving from an earthly, flawed reality into something elevated.
Right, but as we know, that cultural foundation of celebration would later be co-opted by the chaotic realities of nation building.
Yeah, because history is rarely permanent or glorious. I have a feeling that theme of ascension is going to get a lot messier once humans try to apply it to drawing borders and running countries.
Oh, absolutely. Which brings us right to the mid-20th century. If the ancient world used August 15th to celebrate spiritual ascension, the modern world used it to dismantle empires.
So we are talking about the fall of the Japanese and British empires here.
Yes. On August 15th, 1945, Japan announces its unconditional surrender. Now, globally, that ends World War II. But for the Korean Peninsula, it was the sudden, shattering end to 35 years of brutal colonial rule.
I can't even imagine the whiplash of that. I mean, one day you were a colonized subject, and the next you're just free.
It's completely disorienting.
How do you even process that overnight? It's like being handed the keys to a house that's actively on fire. Where do you even start?
Well, you have to understand how systemic the Japanese occupation was to really grasp the relief of that day. It wasn't just economic
It
extraction.
was cultural, right?
Right. It was an active, structural attempt to eradicate Korean culture and language. The sources detail how they banned the Korean language in schools. They forced people to adopt Japanese names.
That is just horrifying.
And they actively suppressed Korean history. So liberation on August 15th wasn't merely a shift in government, it was a reclamation of the self.
Which explains why it's such a massive deal today. But wait, Korea's divided now? Do both North and South Korea celebrate this exact same day?
They do, actually. It is the only political holiday celebrated in both North and South Korea today.
Oh, fascinating. Do they call it the same thing?
Not exactly. In the North, it's called Choguk Haebanggi-nal, which means Liberation of the Fatherland Day.
Okay, and in the South?
In the South, it is Gwangbokjeol, which translates beautifully to the day the light returned.
The day the light returned. That's a striking image. But it makes me wonder, when the lights suddenly come on, you instantly see all the structural damage to your house.
Yes, political liberation is only step one. And that structural damage is even more glaring when we look at what happened exactly 2 years later in Asia.
Moving to 1947.
Exactly. August 15th, 1947, the British Empire formally enacts the Indian Independence Act.
This is the big Jawaharlal Nehru moment, right?
It is. He raises the flag at the Red Fort and delivers his famous Tryst with Destiny speech at midnight.
It's a moment of soaring rhetorical triumph.
It really is. But as we analyze these sources, we have to maintain strict neutrality and look impartially at the tragic cost of this liberation.
Right, because the celebration was deeply complicated.
Extremely. The jubilation of independence was completely tempered by the bloody partition into India and Pakistan.
I always struggled to understand how drawing a new line on a map causes immediate widespread death. I mean, why did it instantly devolve into violence?
Because the borders were drawn hastily by a departing empire. They cut right through communities that had lived intertwined for centuries.
Just completely arbitrarily.
Yes, millions of Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs suddenly found themselves on the wrong side of an arbitrary new line. The resulting panic to migrate sparked brutal communal violence.
The numbers on that are staggering, right?
Our sources estimate between 250,000 to 1 million people were killed, and millions more were turned into refugees overnight.
So while the nation is officially celebrating in Delhi, the actual citizens are experiencing absolute chaos. Did the leadership just, turn a blind eye to the violence?
Not everyone. Mahatma Gandhi certainly didn't. While the nation celebrated, he actually stayed in Calcutta, fasting for 24 hours, just to encourage peace.
Wow. So you have this ultimate paradox on August 15th. You have geopolitical ascension, but it's built on a foundation of massive human trauma.
A very heavy duality.
Yeah. If I'm the newly independent Indian government, my first thought is, how do we even function tomorrow morning? You can't just flip a switch and run a modern country.
Especially when your previous boss designed the whole system just to extract your resources. You've hit on the central crisis of post-colonialism.
So where did they start? True self-reliance requires systemic reconstruction.
Exactly. India's leadership quickly realized that political freedom was meaningless without intellectual and technological sovereignty. This leads directly into how they handled the morning after independence.
So they needed to overhaul education, I assume?
Massively. In 1948 and 1949, they established the Radhakrishnan Commission. This laid the blueprint for educational reform.
What did that actually look like on the ground?
They pushed for a strict 10+2+3 educational model.
Okay, wait, what is that? 10 years of basic schooling.
Yes, 10 years of basic schooling, 2 years of higher secondary, and a 3-year degree.
Why that specific model, though? What does splitting it up like that actually achieve mechanically?
It creates a standardized educational funnel. It provides vocational off-ramps early on, but ensures those who reach university are rigorously prepared. They also prioritize rural universities and tutorial-based learning.
Moving away from just rote memorization.
Exactly, prioritizing a research culture. This directly led to the birth of the University Grants Commission, or UGC, in 1953 to maintain standards and funding.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But the really famous outcome of all this is the engineering schools, right?
Yes. Crucially, the creation of the IITs, the Indian Institutes of Technology. They were declared institutes of national importance.
But building world-class tech institutes from scratch in a newly independent, recovering country sounds financially impossible.
Yeah.
Where did they get the resources?
Through incredible international collaboration, they leveraged the global geopolitical situation brilliantly.
How so?
Well, UNESCO helped, but they also got the Soviet Union to help build IIT Bombay.
Okay, the Soviet.
And then they got West Germany to help with Madras, a U.S. consortium-backed Kanpur. And the UK helped build IIT Delhi.
Wait, so they basically got the U.S. and the USSR during the Cold War to both fund their technological independence.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened.
That is brilliant. It's like a scrappy startup securing seed funding from rival venture capitalists just to build its own tech empire.
It really was. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the impact is massive today. This system eventually produced global tech leaders.
Like Sundar Pichai at Google, right?
Exactly. The tech products you use today trace their lineage right back to the educational foundations laid in the wake of August 15th.
That is wild. It's a legacy of extreme discipline and highly structured institutions.
Very structured.
But it's funny how history works, because exactly 22 years later, on August 15th, 1969, America experienced a cultural explosion that completely rejected structure.
Ah, yes. We are jumping from disciplined classrooms to a muddy dairy farm, Woodstock.
Right. Max Yasgur's farm in Bethel, New York, billed as an Aquarian exposition, 3 days of peace and music.
It became the absolute peak event of the 1960s counterculture. Over 460,000 people attended.
I always pictured Woodstock as a totally grassroots anti-establishment gathering, just like a bunch of hippies spontaneously rejecting capitalism.
A lot of people think that, but the sources reveal a massive financial irony.
Really, what kind of irony?
It was conceived as a strict profit-making venture.
Wait, seriously?
Yes. 4 entrepreneurs, Roberts, Rosenman, Lang, and Kornfeld, wanted to fund a recording studio. They sold tickets for $18 in advance and $24 at the gate.
So the most famous anti-capitalist festival in history was essentially backed by Wall Street-esque entrepreneurs trying to build a studio.
Essentially, yes. It only became a free concert because the logistics completely collapsed.
What do you mean?
They couldn't install the fences and ticket booths in time.
Yeah.
The sheer unmanageable scale of the crowd overran the site before they could secure it.
That is hilarious, like accidentally starting a cultural revolution just because you forgot to build a toll booth.
It really synthesizes how sheer scale forces a pivot. They had to pivot from commerce to community just to survive the weekend, with 32 acts performing through rain and mud.
So the peace and love ethos was almost a survival mechanism because the commercial structure broke down.
Exactly. It reflected a broader societal rejection of strict traditional structures, which perfectly segues into the breakdown of global economic structures just 2 years later.
Oh, this is the big one. Because 2 years to the day after Woodstock began, the U.S. government unleashed its own kind of chaos.
August 15th, 1971, President Richard Nixon's national TV address, the Nixon shock.
He abruptly dismantled the post-World War II financial order, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the mechanics of this because it's huge.
It is huge. At the time, global currencies were tied to the U.S. dollar, and the dollar was directly convertible to physical gold.
Button Wood system.
Right. But by 1971, the U.S. had a major problem. U.S. gold reserves had dwindled to just 10,000 metric tons.
Because foreign nations were cashing out their dollars for gold.
Yes, and inflation was climbing, hitting 5.84%. So Nixon goes on TV and unilaterally cancels the direct convertibility of the dollar to gold.
Effectively ending the Bretton Woods system in one speech.
Exactly. He also ordered a 90-day freeze on wages and prices across the country and slapped a 10% surcharge on imports.
So, impartially looking at the outcomes of this, how did people react?
Well, strictly reporting on the historical record, politically, it was a massive initial success.
Really? People liked it?
They did. The public blamed foreign powers for price gouging, so they loved the aggressive stance. The Dow jumped 33 points the next day.
But I'm guessing that honeymoon didn't last because economically that sounds like a mess.
It was. Economically, it is widely viewed as a failure. It ushered in the 1973 to 1975 recession, stagflation, and a chaotic era of floating exchange rates.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. Why drop this massive bomb on a Sunday? August 15, 1971 was a Sunday.
It was a tactical stroke of brilliance. Doing it on a Sunday meant the markets were closed.
Preventing immediate panic selling.
Exactly. It allowed the narrative to settle on the evening news before actual trading resumed on Monday.
Wow. So Nixon removes the gold anchor, and replaces strict structure with basically permanent structural anxiety.
And that brings us right to our final source, because that anxiety hasn't gone anywhere.
Fast forward to the present day, August 15th, 2025.
Yes. We have a city CIO strategy bulletin dated August 15th, 2025, and it shows we are still dealing with the ripples of the 1970s.
It's like history is echoing. The bulletin highlights increased factor volatility. What does that actually mean?
It basically means the market is reacting wildly to mixed economic data, specifically what they call tariff-sensitive impacts.
Oh, wow. So just like Nixon's import surcharges, today's markets are sweating over tariffs on the exact same date.
Exactly. The bulletin also notes political pressure on Fed policy. Hot July inflation data is likely keeping the Fed from cutting rates by more than 25 basis points in September.
So they're still battling inflation, just like Nixon was. History doesn't just rhyme. Sometimes it literally shares an anniversary.
It really does. But the bulletin has one really fascinating paradox.
What's that?
It notes that Chinese equities reached multi-year highs despite major macro challenges, like deflation and a weak real estate market.
How does their stock market go up if the economy is struggling?
The analysts say it's buoyed by domestic rate cuts, a weakening dollar, and massive government demand-side stimulus.
Meaning the government is just forcefully intervening to prop it up.
Right. If you connect this directly to your wallet, it proves that the cyclical nature of economic anxieties is permanent. The players change, but the systemic pressures unleashed in the 20th century are still driving the markets you invest in today.
It is wild to zoom out and look at this journey. We started with a 4th century spiritual feast trying to bypass physical decay.
Then the bloody and triumphant national liberations of 1945 and 1947.
Right, pulling down empires.
Yeah.
And then India engineering its future through education, while Woodstock was a muddy, accidental revolution rejecting structure in 1969.
Leading right into the financial paradigm shift of 1971 with Nixon.
And right into the market anxieties of today, all on August 15th.
It's a heavy legacy for one date. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final mind-bending fact from the sources to mull over.
Oh, I love these. Hit me.
In 2015, on the 70th anniversary of their August 15th liberation, North Korea actually changed its time zone.
Wait, they altered the literal time.
Good. They changed it to Pyongyang time, specifically to break from what they called imperialist time.
That is audacious.
They eventually reversed it in 2018, but it raises a profound question for you to explore on your own.
What's the question?
Think about it. If the money in your bank account from the Nixon shock, the borders of nations from partition, the technology in your pocket from the IITs, and even the literal time on the clock are just artificial constructs shaped by the legacy of this single date.
What reality will next August 15th invent?
Exactly.
I am going to be looking at the calendar very differently from now on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep an eye on your clocks and your wallet, and we'll see you next time.
Hi viewers, family and friends. How did you like the content of this video? Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Please write in the comments your name and the place you are watching from. Since our viewing family is spread all over the world, it will be nice to know which city and the country you are watching from, so I can say hello to you. Science and technology. Reading and listening to the historical accomplishments on this date of those who have gone before us, I, as a professional engineer with interest in structural engineering, energy-efficient buildings, ICF construction, and as Google Docs expert with interest in spreadsheet-based solutions, draw inspiration to ask of myself the million-dollar question. What would I accomplish today? Think about the Japanese practice of Kaizen. Let me know in the comments, what would you accomplish today? Your subscribing to the channel inspires me to post more such videos. Thanks for your patronage. See you in the next video. Sincerely, Yogi Anand.